STL. This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Leah Hill with your first alert forecast, monitoring the risk for some scattered showers and thunderstorms today. Some may produce some small hail and even some gusty winds are possible in the afternoon. The rain clears after sunset tonight. Afternoon temperatures nearing 70 degrees tonight. We fall into the lower 40s, turning dry by the weekend as we enjoy lots of sun. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
This whole thing's got me thinking about how privileged I've been. America's a wonderful country. If I were a black man, I'd be furious. We're getting frustrated.
Number one for live and local
conservative talk.
There's certain issues that we need improvement. They would rather have this country on its knees than be successful.
news, analysis, opinion.
We have common sense, and the Democrats have none.
101.9 and 94.1.
And I appreciate the discussion.
St. Louis is number one for conservative talk.
News Talk STL. This hour of Colombo Company brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com.
The time to rise has been engaged with better best to rearrange. I'm talking here to me alone. I listen to the finest work song, the finest hour.
Well, hello and welcome to Thursday afternoon. Another busy day here on Colombo and Company. I'm Tony Colombo in studio with Stell Babe. Producer Stell is here, and we've got a lot to talk about. More stories attached to Trump's tariffs. We've got multiple reports. This is kind of a fun day. Got multiple reports coming out exposing Democrat lies over the last few years. One attached to Joe Biden's health and one attached to COVID and the lies that we were told about that. We'll probably talk about that story when we talk to Dr. Randy Tobler at 3 o'clock this afternoon. We're also going to be joined by Jonathan Heslop from Rockwood Charcoal and Capriotti's Sandwich Shop. In this hour, we're going to switch to some local conversation with State Rep Justin Sparks in just about 10 minutes from now. But we are starting this Thursday afternoon with the great Crane Durham from nothingbutTruth.com. Crane, even on Thursdays, brothers don't shake hands. Brothers got a hug.
That's right, Sugar Bear. We do have to hug.
Right, Honey Muffin.
And we've got to hug and look around. You're looking behind me. I'm looking behind you because things are ever changing.
They are ever changing. Man, I really don't know where to start. There's just there's so much going on. Some of it's really important, and some of it is just stuff I want to talk about because it's important, but it's maybe not as important. Here, let's start with this one because this is just ridiculous. Let's go with the theme of just unhinged Democrats, because I might get to some of those stories about exposing their lies as well. So Adam Schiff is now claiming, and he wrote a letter to the White House accusing Donald Trump and his family and the Trump administration of insider trading after moving the tariff policies back and forth. And I guess in one of his Truth Social posts, which is to the world, it's not something that's kept
exclusive.
Private, right? He said something like, "This is a great time to buy," because he was saying that the economy is going to be great and the markets are going to be great because he was selling his tariff policy. I guess they're using that as part of the proof. So Adam Schiff and Ruben Gallego of Arizona wrote a letter today to the White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, as well as Trade Representative Jamieson Greer, calling for an investigation into potential insider trading. Quote, "This sequence of events raises grave legal and ethics concerns. The president, his family, and his advisors are uniquely positioned to be privy to and take advantage of non-public information to inform their investment decisions," the senators wrote. Schiff went on to say, "I'm going to do my best to find out." He told Time this of investigating the president for alleged insider trading. He said, quote, "Family meme coins and all the rest of it are not beyond insider trading or enriching themselves. I hope to find out soon." The idea, Crane, of a Democrat making accusations at a Republican or anyone else about enriching themselves inappropriately through insider trading is one of the most hypocrisy moments. Hypocritical? Is that a
yes?
Hypocritical.
It is, because it's that.
Why did I have such a hard time with that word?
It happens.
Hypocritical.
Yeah.
Moments of my entire life.
Negligible.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Crane,
Yes.
your thoughts?
All right. Well, I love your delivery, and I've loved it for 20 years. Here's the deal. Adam Schiff is the embodiment of trust. I mean, we can count on this man, to be honest.
Yeah.
And then,
ethical.
I heard his first, yes, and ethical. And his first witness is going to be Nancy Pelosi.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to draw this stuff up,
the poster child
yes,
of enriching themselves through insider trading. Best case scenario, legal insider trading because of the lack of laws preventing it. But it at worst, obviously a criminal, but definitely somebody who massively enriched themselves through insider knowledge or influence over the markets and whatever it may be.
Or the luckiest woman in the history of economic world.
And I'm telling you, she's not. So you're exactly right. So for them to have the gonads to go out and say they're going to go after Republicans or the president for insider trading for tariff policies that have been as public as can possibly be. There hasn't been more talk publicly about anything than these tariff plans over the last, 2 weeks.
Where's the shame? I mean, Adam Schiff should be in a bathtub like Keith Olbermann, crying his eyes out because he shamed himself over the years. And I think that's what grates on a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like people make one mistake, bam, they're gone. It's over, even though they apologize. And now you have Adam Schiff, who lied to the country about some very serious dealings, undermined our national security by doing so, because the impact it had a loss of faith in what we have as a election system. And here he is, I'm on this. Well, check out George Soros and Nancy Pelosi, and we'll see where we go from there. It's sad, and they all are about performance. It's not about substance. Democrats, not all Democrats. Some of you are Democrat, you're listening, and you hate it too. And maybe you're becoming independent. Maybe you're going to the Republican Party, but you darn sure don't like what's happening to your party because it's performance crap. And it doesn't do anything to push our country forward in a good way.
Here's another example of Democratic lies exposed even years later. A 2022 Defense Department report, long withheld by the Biden administration, has recently surfaced and reveals that 7 U.S. service members showed COVID-19-like symptoms after having competed in the World Military Games in Wuhan, China, months before the deadly virus first broke out in the U.S. The explosive disclosure suggests that the virus was circulating in Wuhan months before China disclosed it to the world in December of 2019. The games took place in October of 2019, 2 months earlier. It also challenges the Biden administration's public claims in 2021 that there was no evidence that any American participants contracted the virus at those games. The CIA, FBI, and Energy Department have all now suggested that the COVID-19 virus pandemic may have originated via a lab leak from the city's Wuhan Institute of Virology. A 2022 report this report that we're talking about was legally required to be released publicly online more than 2 years ago in a searchable format. But a new report out today from the Washington Free Beacon shows it only became available sometime in late March, so just weeks ago, when the Trump administration uploaded it to the Defense Department website. You may not think all these years later that this is a big deal, but I think that it is, Crane, and here's why. Because it just exposes once again the Democrats, the Biden administration, they had knowledge. They knew things that were happening before they were happening, and they failed to report those things to the world and continued to lie to the American people after it happened. I mean,
big time.
Yeah. And they will, and many of those Democrats will still today, Anthony Fauci and the lot will still today stand there and look at you with a straight face and repeat some of the things that have just been outright proven as lies.
And I can see it on your face. You're exasperated right now. And you look good in blue, my friend.
Thank you, buddy.
And that's a great teal shirt there, Stel. Yeah. Here's the deal.
He's looking good too. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Hey. It's nice to observe that, you know. Okay, so here it is in a nutshell.
Watch us live on all the social media platforms.
There it is.
There's always a little something. It's always just a little bit better when you're watching.
20-year-old picture of me. Darn, I look. I look really good there.
Fantastic.
Don't I? I'm like, can I look like that again? All right, so
haberdashery talk.
But getting back to what is serious, you're exasperated, and you have every right to be. Because COVID hasn't gone away from my memory. I remember actually getting COVID before it was announced. And I felt like I was going to die for 3 weeks. And I had been in contact with people who had traveled from China. And so when all this came out, I was like, oh, I get it. But then we had the stories about COVID, the social distancing, the masks, the teachers. What? I mean, that teachers union president, get in the bathtub with Keith Olbermann, okay? Because she should be shamed to the fact of tears. Like, I can't do it with myself. And so the bottom line is this: the credibility of our federal government was lost, and this is why we do have President Trump. This is one of the many reasons we have President Trump. Because they told us a lie, they continued to tell us a lie, and then when we said it was a lie, they would investigate or fear us. When you have people going to pro-lifers' homes, jacked up in guns and not blazing, but coming in and doing that overaction to people that you disagree with. Disagree with politically. So you have every right to call this out. Tom Cotton was right. But hey, go back in time and you'll see the press and the government in the sense of, hey, we're going to discount anybody who doesn't go with our narrative.
Yep, you got it exactly right. And unfortunately, we don't have time to talk about this next one, but I will a little bit later on the show. As I mentioned, the theme of catching Democrats in lies going to be running through this entire show today. There's a new book out that proves and documents how Nancy Pelosi had acknowledged privately within the party and to friends and family just how bad of shape Joe Biden was in during his presidency, while still publicly attacking, condemning, and belittling any media report that came out. This all happened simultaneously, not after she turned on him after that CNN report or the CNN debate, all before that, when she was calling, when a media report would come out about Biden's mental decline, and she'd call it hit pieces and things like that. New book,
cheap fakes.
Yeah.
Remember the cheap fakes on videos.
Brand new book out shows just how much of a hypothetical liar she was, as well as Adam Schiff. So we'll get into that a little bit later on. Crane Durham from nothingbutTruth.com. Really appreciate a little bonus time on this Thursday afternoon, and we will talk to you again very soon, my friend.
Thank you. Great show coming up. Sparks and Healthsup and Dr. Randy Tobler.
You know it, baby.
Stay tuned.
Love
Love y'all.
Got a lot
Bye.
to talk to. And if you miss anything there with Crane Durham, don't forget you can check him out every day at nothingbutTruth.com and the Nothing But Truth Facebook page. All right, before we get into more of those national stories like that new book that really exposes Nancy Pelosi for the liar that she is, we're going to switch gears and talk about local politics. We're still reacting to Tuesday's election results. Also, only just a little more than a month remaining in the Missouri legislative session, and there are some things going on there that have me pretty fired up, and my guess is that our next guest is going to be fired up about these things as well. Missouri State Representative Justin Sparks joins us next on Colombo Company.
If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
The far left wants to destroy conservative values in America.
This is News Talk STL. Welcome home.
Experience the exhilarating atmosphere of a Cardinals game. Join the sea of red in the wave around the stadium. Feel the rush of excitement as a home run lights up the sky with fireworks, bringing the whole ballpark to their feet. Nothing beats the thrill of watching the Cards get the W with the final out at the plate. It's more than a game. It's an experience. Visit Cardinals.com for tickets and info. St. Louis Cardinals for the Lou.
There is no better way to enjoy America's favorite pastime than cheering on the Cardinals with your family at Busch Stadium. From the thrill of watching the game to the kid-friendly activities, food, and fun, the ballpark has it all. Make magical memories as you cheer together for every home run, double play, and Cards win. Your family summer tradition starts here at Busch Stadium. Grab your tickets today at Cardinals.com. St. Louis Cardinals for the Lou.
The Napoli heritage of fine dining continues with Napoli Kirkwood. Napoli Kirkwood, now open. So add that to Cafe Napoli in Clayton, Napoli 2 in Town and Country, Napoli 3 in St. Charles, right next door to Napoli C. And don't forget about Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in the district, Chesterfield Valley. All of those locations, plus now, open Napoli Kirkwood.
Hey there, Chris Cooper here, Serenity Wealth Management. And joining me in studio this week for Serenity Wealth Now Radio, my good friends Brian and Christian with Precision Raw. We are going to talk about nutrition. Specifically, in honor of National Pet Day, we're going to talk about the furry friends that we have in our lives and the nutritional balance they have, because we are living longer lives as humans right now. But you know what? Maybe our pets can benefit from a more holistic and natural diet as well. So join me Sunday morning, 9 a.m. right here on News Talk STL.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
Well, welcome back to Colombo and Company on 119.94.1 News Talk STL. I'm going to talk to my co-host from Bluff City Outdoors, Mark McMurray, at about 3:25, about an hour from now. Also in the 3 o'clock hour, Dr. Randy Tobler going to join us. Jonathan Heslop, our good friend from Rockwood Lump Charcoal and Capriati Sandwich Shop, is going to be in studio with us here in just about 15 minutes. And right now, I'm telling you, Colombo and Company, the title has never been more appropriate than today. Right now, joining us on the line, as he does every Thursday afternoon, is Missouri State Representative Justin Sparks. Justin, thanks as always for joining us today. How are you?
I'm doing great, Tony. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. So I was going to, I was preparing for this conversation all week long, and there was some of these issues that I was wanting to talk to you about. And then I was listening this morning, a great conversation between our very own Mike Ferguson and our very own Tim Jones. Tim jumped on with Mike this morning at about 8:30, and I highly recommend anybody go back and check that out. And they were talking about a lot of what is happening in Jeff City with the Missouri legislative session. And Tim was expressing some of the same frustrations that I've had, and I think you've had as well. And it's sort of just even it fired me up even more about this conversation, specifically around the fact that we still now about 2/3 of the way into the legislative session. There's been some things that have been done that are positive that we can brag about, but still the big issues like Second Amendment protection, Amendment 3, and IP reform haven't even been discussed in one bit, and we're running out of time to do any of those things. So I've got some details about their conversation, but I just want to get your first. I want to get your thoughts on how you feel right now. Is what we got, about 5 weeks left, 15 weeks down, and 5 weeks left in the legislative session, and still none of these big issues have been discussed.
So the overall picture is exactly how you just described it. And there is one singular reason for that. And it really is, it's almost like because we've always done it this way. And it really does play into the special interests in our state and what they want to get done or what they don't want to get done. And we have to change that, the overall picture, meaning this. Every single year, they wait to the last second. Republican leadership waits to the last second until session is almost out in order to tackle the most important issues. We've seen this time and time again with initiative petition reform or protecting the Second Amendment or keeping Amendment 3 or trying to keep Amendment 3 from coming on the ballot, whatever it might be. The most important things to the most important, largest amount of people in our state. And yet we always find ourselves in the same exact situation, which is crunch time, running up clock. It's completely unnecessary. You could bring up these important, and there's absolutely no way that the Democrats can filibuster for all of session. It's impossible. And, we've had this conversation before. You have to ask yourself, well, then why in the world are we doing it this way?
Mm-hmm.
And that's obviously a deeper conversation, and it's multifaceted. So the most obvious example is when we decide that everybody, the constituents, desperately want Amendment 3 addressed. And everybody says this. They're like, how in the world did we ever get to the place with unrestricted abortion, transgender surgery for minors that we already thought was outlawed in the state of Missouri? What in the world is going on that women now can get abortions from somebody classified as a medical healthcare provider? Amendment 3 doesn't even say the word physician in it.
No.
So it doesn't have to be a doctor. Women now truly are at risk, right? So it's like people want us to address this. They expect and demand us to address this. And yet here we are waiting until the very last second. And we finally, last week, were able to get a bill out of the House that did exactly that. It actually repealed Amendment 3. It took it out of our Constitution. It put back the restrictions, the very reasonable restrictions on medical health care providers and doctors, protecting women. And it really was a reflection on what the voters thought they were voting on for Amendment 3 and what they have said over and over again, what they want to go into the Constitution. And that actually passed out of committee only to be referred to a magical committee that we call legislative review by the Speaker of the House. So the Speaker of the House has this power to take the bill. Once it comes out of committee, traditionally it should go directly to the floor to be debated and voted on for passage and sent over to the Senate. That's not what happened. The Speaker of the House grabbed the bill and he put it into a special committee that he's created called legislative review. And from that committee, they replaced that bill. So the bill that had been vetted in a 4-hour committee hearing with the public's input and had been voted on by the committee itself and passed overwhelmingly, that bill essentially disappeared and was replaced by a non-repeal of Amendment 3, by a bill that would not repeal Amendment 3. It was a bill that added constitutional language about fetal viability and parental consent, but essentially it was a small bite at the apple and not what the people have told me they want. And so that was the strategy up until this week. But here's the good news. The Republican caucus, the majority of the Republican conference, finally found their voice. And through listening to their constituents, because people all across Missouri obviously were very upset when they heard what had happened. And that really did move the needle. And overwhelmingly, Republicans in the House said, this is not enough. This is not what the people have asked us to do. We have to do what the people have asked us to do. And I'm happy to report that as of today, the bill, essentially the language from the original bill that does in fact repeal Amendment 3 and is a great, very close representation to what the people have asked for, has in fact been passed out of committee. I was in the committee hearing last night. It was a long, very boisterous, very confrontational hearing, as you might imagine, and that it has been referred to the Rules Committee for passage. We should be hearing this bill on the floor next week.
That is
pretty amazing.
Yeah, that is great. And that was the positive part of the conversation this morning between Tim Jones and Mike Ferguson, talking about how at least Amendment 3 is finally being addressed. But like you just illustrated and was part of their conversation, I think this is an amazing realization that they talked about this morning. Tim Jones was talking about how the House, of which you are a member of, the Missouri House can pass a bill in less than a week if it wants to. It can get its work done in less than a week. But we are now 3/4 of the way essentially through the session, and we're just now doing this. So why the wait? And it sounds to me like exactly what you and I talked a whole lot about last year and over the summer. This is once again another example of Republican leadership not doing Republican things. Is that true?
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. Republican leadership, just like Speaker Jones says, he knows. He was in that position. He did some amazing things too, by the way, when he was there. I wish we had him again. And he's exactly right. If you have a priority, it's done. You can get it done in 4 days. But when Republican leadership is opposed to the Republican platform priority, then that's when all of a sudden excuses are made, delay after delay after delay, and all the waters get muddied, and you have to basically run around convincing the Republican caucus, this is intentional, guys. This is literally the conversations I had to have with folks, which was, this is an intentional obfuscation and delay tactic because he's opposed to what we're trying to do here. And unfortunately, that's the state of the Missouri House. Unfortunately, this is exactly what we've had to deal with year after year after year as we try to scrape with our fingernails to do the Republican platform priorities that the people in Missouri expect and demand of their legislators. And this is why people really are waking up. This is why people are getting involved. And it's kind of a messy process because people get really upset because they finally get pushed so far. They're like, I'm actually going to go and find out what's happening. That was me 3 years ago. That's why I ran for office.
Got a couple minutes left here with Missouri State Representative Justin Sparks. So to just look at the big picture of this conversation, then if it's been 15 weeks, if it's taken 15 weeks to make any progress on Amendment 3, I don't see any possibility of getting any of the other major issues addressed, like Second Amendment protection or even bigger IP reform. So what's your gut feeling on how the rest of this session plays out? Just when we're talking about these particular issues, do you think that we will make significant progress on Amendment 3, but are once again IP reform and those other big issues going to be left on the table?
I think Amendment 3 is going to be addressed. I think that's a good thing. Yeah. But Tony, just the amount of work that it has taken to pull people and to get my colleagues to understand what we're really up against and to get a consensus together has been way harder than it should be. I think the House does, in fact, the Second Amendment Preservation Act. I'm not sure what is going to happen in the Senate side. I just don't have a lot of faith in what if that bill gets passed, even though it should. And for as far as initiative petition reform, this is going to break your heart. But the opponents of initiative petition reform have now been able to convince a whole bunch of Republicans that there's just absolutely no way we should try to close and reform the constitutional process when we haven't addressed Amendment 3 yet. It is a 100% disinformation campaign. I've spent so much time talking to colleagues and telling them that the polling data from after Amendment 3 passed at the ballot that shows concurrent majority initiative petition reform would in fact pass, and any reform and repeal of Amendment 3 would still pass, even when we change to a majority of congressional districts passing initiative petitions. And it's unbelievable, this coalition that has formed around opposing initiative petition reform, because they're desperate to keep the Constitution open and ripe for abuse. They're desperate for their special interests to be able to legislate through our Constitution, and it's wrong.
Because both sides can take advantage of it. Republicans can take advantage of it when they want to push something through, and Democrats can too, and they don't want to take away that ease of getting something like that done. And I don't know, I'm not nearly as deeply involved or educated on these issues as you are, or Tim is, or everybody there serving in Jeff City. Rodney Boyd, who we talk to also every week. But even I know that we wouldn't be dealing with Amendment 3 in its current state, or we wouldn't have such a sloppy version of legalized recreational marijuana in the state of Missouri if we would have addressed IP reform to begin with. We just keep making a mess of things where all of these issues wouldn't even exist if IP reform would have been handled first instead of last.
So you just hit the nail on the head right there, because what essentially what has happened is, in order to placate and to serve the special interests, the masters, right, and give them what they want, the ability to legislate into the Constitution and not address initiative petition reform, what have we sacrificed? We now have unregulated abortion. We don't protect the Second Amendment, and a host of other things. And we do that at great peril to our state, where people actually suffer as a result in order to keep the special interest getting what they want, which is the ability to abuse the Constitution.
Well, listen, if we can at least have one silver lining, one positive part of this conversation as we wrap it up for this week, it's that Amendment 3 is being addressed, and hopefully there is some more positive conversation that you and I will have on that when we talk again next week. But the frustration surrounding IP reform and a couple of those other things are just really maddening. And I wonder how much damage the Republican Party is doing to itself if they continue to not deliver on some of these big issues. And I guess that's something that we will all learn together and see, as the rest of this session wraps up. Justin Sparks, really appreciate your time as always, my friend. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too, Tony. Keep up the good work.
Yeah, thank you. You too. All right. We are going to jump back into some of the national news. We've talked to a couple of our small business owner friends here in recent times that have talked about how, with the tariff situation and everything happening at the national level, how much that impacts local small businesses. A lot of times you can't see the forest through the trees, and you look at these big picture issues and you forget the real world impact that has on local businesses and local consumers and things like that. That is one of the many things I want to talk to Jonathan Heslop about, our friend and owner of two great local businesses, Rockwood Lump Charcoal and Capriati Sandwich Shop. Jonathan is here and joins us live in studio next on Colombo Company.
No. or thinking about you late night. No, or running around with your friends now. The picking the pieces of my soul about the floor.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
A trade war with China? War or peace in the Middle East? Steve Bucci at 425. Bob Brooks from Newsmax, 525.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Dr. Matt Boscia from New Creation Dental Care is the Colombo family dentist and a man that I cannot recommend enough if you are looking for a new dentist for you and your family. Dr. Boscia always expanding his services, trying to provide more services to his patients and make New Creation Dental Care truly a one-stop shop for all your family's dental needs. We love Dr. Boscia and the team there at New Creation Dental Care. So as I mentioned, if you are considering getting a new dentist for your family, I highly recommend you at least check out Dr. Boscia. See all of the things that he and his staff can do for you and your family, including the new incredible all-on-4 full arch implant procedure. This is a full mouth restoration that can give you back your smile in as little as 1 day. Just another great example of all of the things that they can do for you right there in the office without having to make referrals or without having to come back week after week for continued visits. You can get it all done many times in less than 1 day right there at New Creation Dental Care. Check out some amazing smile makeovers. Learn all about the all-on-4 procedure and everything else Dr. Boscia and his team could do for you and your family right now just by visiting newcreationdentalcare.com.
Hi, it's Ken Williams, and my favorite Capriati sandwich is the Capastrami. You've got hot pastrami, melty Swiss cheese, crunchy coleslaw, and zesty Russian dressing. What else do you need? I love Capriati's, and you will too.
On Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
When caring for a loved one becomes overwhelming, you don't have to walk that path alone. At Truly Treasured Home Care, we understand because we've been there. Our owner's personal experience caring for a parent inspired our mission to provide the compassionate support families need. From personalized care and companionship to specialized dementia and veteran services, we tailor our approach to your unique situation. Truly Treasured Home Care. Call 636-685-0508 or visit trulytreasuredhomecare.com.
Jewels on Hampton and St. Louis Hills is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches on site. Jewels on Hampton is a premier jeweler featuring Alvanza's jewel art designs with an exquisite selection of diamonds, semi-precious stone jewelry, and vintage watches. Their expert design team can restyle your jewelry to today's contemporary style. They also do jewelry and watch repair. Need extra cash? Jewels on Hampton is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches. Bring in your collectibles and clocks and sports memorabilia and figurines too. Jewels on Hampton, 4506 Hampton, just 3 blocks south of Chippewa, and jewelsonhampton.com. Call them at 314-752-5000, 314-752-5000, and jewelsonhampton.com. Jewels on Hampton.
Experience history as it comes alive at the Champ Clark Memorial VFW Post 5553 History Day, April 12th in Bowling Green. Presenters and reenactors will transport you through America's war eras. For more info, call 573-470-9066.
This hour of Colombo Company brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com.
I am a no, I'm not in the closet. I'm very open about this. Huey Lewis in the news. If you wanted to make the argument to me that they're the greatest band in the history of the world,
you wouldn't argue.
I'd listen. I'd have that.
Yeah.
I'd have that open
Love
conversation.
You're a Huey fanatic.
I love Huey. Welcome back to Colombo and Company. I'm Tony Colombo. That's producer Stell. And as I mentioned, joining us live in studio from Rockwood Lump Charcoal and Capriati Sandwich Shop, Jonathan Eslip is here. Great to see you, buddy.
Good to be back.
So
it's been too long.
I want to ask you specifically about some of these these issues that have been in the news, these headlines have been in the news that, we talk about every day, and we cover it, and we only talk about, we talk about Donald Trump and Elon Musk and these Democrats and everything, but we forget, I think, a lot of times, some of the real world impact that these policies and what's happening there in Washington, D.C. have on small local businesses across the country. And you having multiple small businesses, a perfect person to talk to. But before we do that, speaking of your businesses, last time you were here a couple months ago, you announced the plans to open up a second St. Louis area Capriati's shop. So what's the latest there?
You teased us.
You teased us.
Well, it's coming. We should get possession of the space here in about a month, middle of May, and we've got the plans almost finalized. They're going in for permitting, so hopefully the folks in Creve Coeur are excited about us coming, and they get those plans pushed through, and we can start construction and be open by the end of the year.
It's going
to be an amazing spot. It's going to be a perfect spot for us. It's in a center that doesn't have a lot of parking, but since we've got entrances on both ends, the to-go orders will be in back in the reserved spots, and when the in-store orders, people staying to eat with us can park out front.
Yeah.
We got so lucky on this spot. It wasn't on the market. I sniped it. It is going to be amazing.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, definitely keep us posted throughout the year on the progress of that, because
And-
that is some exciting stuff.
And we've been busier than you can believe over at Rock Hill lately. It has been nuts. Our catering is I think the word got out finally that, our catering every day. We are doing tons of catering. Somehow I became the official caterer of the Wash U Police Department as well. So
all right.
we're doing catering every week for those folks. They love it. And it's been a lot of fun.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. And then also it's kicking off barbecue season too.
Busy,
So a lot of stuff-
busy
fun stuff
over
with
there, and
Rockwood.
kicking off with the band too. It's summer tour starting now. We're gonna start
Platinum Rock Legends.
Yep. We've got a show over in Illinois that we're doing this weekend. Then we're back in town. We're doing Helen Fitzgerald's twice this month. That's gonna be great. That's my favorite.
I don't know how you do all of it, but it's awesome.
It's a labor of love. It's so much fun. But we've been crazy busy at the restaurant. You got to come over and check it out.
So specifically, talking about, how I've talked to some small business owners, and they're sort of feeling some of the weirdness or the nervousness maybe from vendors and customers and things like that across the board. One of those small business owners is my good friend Mark McMurray from Bluff City Outdoors, who is actually going to be here a little bit later on this afternoon as well. He's mentioned that a couple times over the last month or so, specifically since this whole tariff thing really got in the news and the market started going up and down crazy. Have you felt that same thing at Capriati's or Rockwood about just like some unease across the board from customers, from vendors, suppliers, everything?
Well, on the charcoal side, I mean, luckily having a 100% Missouri-made product, I'm immune from that. And all of my competitors that get their charcoal out of Mexico and South America, they are running scared right now.
There you
so
go.
we're in a good spot of having a U.S.-made product. That flag is all over my bag to let people know that we are tariff immune from the charcoal. The only thing is that the paper that we make the bags out of, the wood pulp, comes from Canada, so we'll feel a little bit there. Same deal on the cardboard. The wood pulp comes from Canada. It all does.
Oh,
so
that Canadian cardboard.
We'll get a little bit. I mean, but it's going to be negligible in the scope of things. The other companies, they're going to feel it hard. Now, as far as on the Capriati side, no, we haven't really seen anything yet. I mean, the price of tuna that we use, the big cans of tuna, that went up like 10% or something. So I live on the Merrimack. I was going to call Marfelder and see if we can come out and get those tuna out of the Merrimack. And see if we can
just do it yourself.
Do it if that's what it's coming from. I don't know.
Do some harvesting.
Yeah, we'll catch our own tuna there out of the Merrimack, but we'll see. Other than that, no. I mean, it's paper packaging, that kind of thing. It's going to go up, but who cares? I mean, in the long run, anybody that send me a price increase on our packaging materials and things like that, I respond, make America great again, or something like that. I'll take it, because what's on the horizon, I tell you what, we haven't seen a drop at all as far as business. Ever since this terror talk and everybody's running scared accordingly to the media and everything like that, our businesses are up, both of them.
That's
I have been
great.
selling charcoal and selling the Capriati's way up in the last couple months. Nobody at least my clientele is not scared of this at all.
Well, you know what? I think that you having local products, like the fact that Rockwood is all made from Missouri hardwoods, and a lot of the ingredients at Capriati's, you go out of your way to use local or American made products.
We're going to put a tariff on Illinois. That's what we're going to do. 'Cause I'm keeping it here in Missouri.
There you go.
Illinois, look out.
Absolutely.
80% going across the river there.
So just in general,
Take that,
I know you don't
Take
have
that, Chicago. Sorry, Stel.
It's okay. I know you don't have you have a real life, like real people, so you don't watch it as crazy as we do every day. But do you think that Trump's on the right track as far as trying to even the playing field in this tariff?
Anybody that's worried needs to read The Art of the Deal. I mean, this is straight out of his playbook. This is how he does business, and we're going to come out of this amazing.
Yeah.
This is how it's going to go. And it is. He scares the hell out of these people and then gives them a little bit back. And he's got China running. I think he's got him.
Yeah.
He's got the world behind him now, and the United States, that they're going to put the screws to China as well. And China's going to fold like a cheap lawn chair.
I do think it's pretty amazing, Stel, how all of this hoopla about these tariffs, going into place and how bad it's going to be, and how long did they last? A day?
Mm-hmm.
And then he paused for the rest of the world and increased on China.
Oh my God. How much did we hear about my 401k? Well, were you going to retire tomorrow? Were you going to cash out 100% of your holdings tomorrow to retire? No.
Right.
Okay. Stock market's back up. Why weren't you buying when it was down?
Yeah.
That was your opportunity. I was so excited when it dropped. I went out and bought like crazy.
Which is what Trump was saying on Truth Social. Go buy. He was saying it's a time.
Nvidia was down below 100. Bitcoin was below 80,000. Tesla was down to like 230. Why weren't you buying if you're complaining about this? Everybody you would have made all the money back already.
That's a great point.
So,
and the pause is on nations that are already negotiating.
Yeah.
Who've come to the table and
Which
said,
are like over 70.
You're right.
I mean, it's basically the rest of the world besides China.
Yeah, it's a good time. I am very excited about the future for this country and for this town and everything else.
You mentioned Tesla. Elon Musk back in the news today. This headline, this story is incredible. We're used to hearing crazy stories about, the government spending $1 million to study bisexual shrimp in the Atlantic.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like ridiculous things like that. But this is a little, it's in the same vein, but it's a little bit different. The Department of Government Efficiency, Elon Musk and Doge, just shared on their account on X an eyebrow-raising findings from a survey of unemployment insurance claims. The initial survey of unemployment insurance claims since 2020 found that thousands of people with future birth dates, people that haven't even been born yet, claimed benefits. The survey also indicated that thousands of supposedly very, very young and very, very old people also claimed benefits. The Doge Post states that the survey found, quote, 24.5 thousand people over 115 years old claimed $59 million in benefits. 28,000 people between 1 and 5 years old claimed $254 million in benefits. And about 10,000 people with birth dates over 15 years in the future claimed $69 million in benefits. Yep. Jonathan, in one case, someone with a birthday in 2154 claimed $41,000, according to the Post.
So now they just need to cross-reference this with the voter rolls in Chicago and Detroit and everywhere else. Yes, these people voted as well, no doubt about it.
I mean, we knew it's a mess, and we knew there's lying and there's bad people doing bad things when it comes to insurance benefits and things like that. But my God, 10,000 people with birth dates that are over 15 years in the future.
Well, they had people too. They had somebody on the rolls that was over 150 that was still getting Social Security. I mean, it was a handful of them, but there was a lot that were over 100 or were over 110. He's basically above the Guinness Book of World Records, oldest person in the
Nearly
country.
25,000 people over 115 years old claimed nearly $60 million in benefits.
Yeah. So now it's going to be one of those things. Come clean or we're coming for you. I mean, they should just go ahead and let these people self-disclose and get out of right rather than try to prosecute them. But, try to get back what they can on the money. But, that money's gone.
Yeah. We've known it was bad, but Doge and Elon Musk have done a great job of just really exposing and explaining how bad it's been.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, I don't think they're going to be able to get that money back, but they're going to stop it in the future.
Yeah. Right.
Because now that these people know that somebody's coming for them, those checks are going to stop getting cashed.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned the band, but before we run out of time, I do want to talk about the band a little bit. If people want to come out and see Platinum Rock Legends this spring, I know it was beautiful when I was driving in. I think it's supposed to get nice again, but then it was raining in the middle of the day today.
It's raining right now,
But we finally are looking like we're getting into a period of some decent weather and some warm weather, and that's going to make a lot of people want to get out and enjoy some live music. Remind folks where they can find Platinum Rock Legends and learn more and catch a show.
This weekend we'll be at Stomp Out Cancer event in Hillsboro, Illinois. It's kind of near to Litchfield. Apparently it's a large event, and I haven't been there yet, but we've been invited to do that. And then on the 19th and the 26th, back-to-back Saturdays, Helen Fitzgerald's. I can't wait. That's my favorite.
That is awesome.
We're at Brewski's again. We're at Cyberg's. We're at Frank. Well, hold off on that Brewski's one. I don't know about that one. Cyberg's on Dorset. We're at Frankie Martin's. That's going to be. So we're back at Frank. I think we got 4 times at Frankie Martin's this summer on the 17th of May. That's going to be an incredible event.
Will you be at the Helen Fitzgerald's on Lindbergh?
Yes, sir.
44.
Yeah, and we're there. So the 19th and the 26th of this month, and then again on the 31st of next month.
If you're looking for a good time to support local music, Platinum Rock Legends is about as good as it gets. Make sure you get out there and check that out. Also, Capriotti's Sandwich Shop and Rockwood Lump Charcoal. It's an exciting time. Jonathan, thank you so much for your time as always. Great to see you, buddy.
Great to be here.
We'll talk to you again very, very soon. All right, we are going to continue the conversation with Dr. Randy Tobler, get his thoughts on the latest tariff situation. Also, daylight savings could finally be coming to an end. We'll talk about it all next.
The Herzog Tomorrow Foundation provides private school tuition scholarships through Missouri's new Most Scholars program to cover the cost of accessible, high-quality schooling.
Hi, this is Myella Esser with the Herzog Tomorrow Foundation. Our private school tuition scholarships wouldn't be possible without the support of generous Missouri taxpayers. If you're a Missouri taxpayer interested in redirecting your tax dollars and sending them to Missouri students in need of a better education, please contact me at herzogmostscholars.org.
Better education for students creates a better tomorrow for all. Learn how you can help provide a better education for Missouri students at herzogmostscholars.org. That's herzogmostscholars.org. Also, sign up for The Lion, an initiative of the Herzog Foundation that carries articles covering a wide range of issues facing American families and culture. herzogfoundation.com. That's herzogfoundation.com.
We've been here 30 years, 30 Christmases in this house, and we have the traditions that most families have.
That's Terry talking about her experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We did Rhino Shield 14 years ago, and the house still looks the same as the first day. Rhino Shield really worked with me to help me get just the right, nice, soft yellow, and it's 14 years later, and it's the same color.
The main reason Terry called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by its 25-year transferable warranty.
It just sounded wonderful that we could have the house coated with Rhino Shield and not have to worry about it again for 25 years.
Take it from Terry. Give Rhino Shield a call now for a free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO. Or visit 877-25rhino.com.
There have been neighbors that have come by and said, "Did you just have your house painted?" Because they wanted to know who the contractor was. And I said, "No, it's actually Rhino Shield."
877-25rhino.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott.
House Republicans approving their budget framework by a very narrow vote of 216 to 214.
Speaker Mike Johnson had to work into the night to satisfy Republican holdouts who had refused to advance trillions of dollars in tax breaks without deeper spending cuts.
We want to find real savings. We have an obligation to do that.
Johnson says essential programs like Medicaid will be protected. Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries says Democrats will push back.
Every day, every week.
Central to the budget framework is the Republican effort to preserve the tax breaks approved in 2017 during Donald Trump's first term, while potentially adding the new ones he promised during the 2024 campaign. Ed Donahue, Washington.
The result was a turnaround for Speaker Mike Johnson after abruptly postponing Wednesday's vote. Johnson worked into the night to satisfy conservative lawmakers who refused to support the plan. He and Senate Majority Leader John Thune assured conservatives they were on track, seeking at least $1.5 trillion in cuts. Also at SRNtownhall.com, the Justice Department has moved to drop a criminal case against the alleged East Coast leader of the MS-13 gang, less than a month after he was charged, saying they plan to deport him instead. President Trump's Treasury Secretary says there's nothing unusual about recent stock market volatility. Greg Clugston has that report.
Commenting on Thursday's market drop after Wednesday's rally, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent tried to project confidence about the wild swings on Wall Street.
The up 2, down 1 is not a bad ratio, or up 10, down 5.
Bessent predicted there would be great certainty after 90 days of negotiating new trade deals, and the president declared the country is in good shape. Greg Clugston, the White House.
More on these stories at townhall.com.
Let me talk about Relief Factor and how so many people enjoy a better, more pain-free life because of it. If you're dealing with everyday pain, it makes sense you'd want to try it first. Well, Relief Factor makes that pretty pain-free too with their 3-week quick start kit for only $19.95, less than $1 a day. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain temporarily, it helps reduce or eliminate pain. Visit relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF, 800-4RELIEF for Relief Factor.
Most people in radio commercials talk really fast. But we made this one for RV owners. Progressive knows they like the slower pace of RV life, like this commercial. And they know Progressive will protect their RV at a fair price with discounts. Now here comes the fast part. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Discounts not available in all.
News, analysis, and opinion.
I think you and 9 other Democrats hate.
I'm the best leader for the Senate. We're moving forward.
I think we found now 14 magic money computers, which can just make money out of thin air.
The gunshot that was fired into one of the Tesla vehicles.
Trump spent 2 hours on the phone with Vlad.
The president will then determine what the next steps are.
What the Republicans are doing is not a CR. It's a license to destroy.
The Democrats put us into this situation.
I think cooler heads will prevail.
101.9 and 94.1.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Leah Hill with your first alert forecast, monitoring the risk for some scattered showers and thunderstorms today. Some may produce some small hail and even some gusty winds are possible in the afternoon. The rain clears after sunset tonight. Afternoon temperatures nearing 70 degrees tonight. We fall into the lower 40s, turning dry by the weekend as we enjoy lots of sun. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Jewels on Hampton, paying some of the highest prices for your gold, silver, diamonds, and more. Call 314-752-5000 or visit jewelsonhampton.com.
Fox News commentary.
The Trump administration is offering a very generous deal to illegal immigrants. I'm Tommy Lahren. Find out next.
National security is at risk, and China controls most of the world's supply of antimony, a critical metal for military and defense technology. Military Metals Corp is taking action and securing a Western-controlled supply with projects in Europe and North America. Critical minerals are the backbone of modern defense. Now's the time to pay attention. The stock trades on the OTC under ticker MILIF. Call your broker today or go to www.militarymetalscorp.com to learn more.
Administration may soon fine illegal immigrants who do not self-deport. If you're here illegally, you've been given the courtesy to deport yourselves before ICE does it for you. If you don't, not only will you still be up for deportation, you'll be subject to a fine of $998 per day for every day you've overstayed your final deportation order. If the illegals have no money to pay, the administration will be happy to seize property as well. And it's actually a generous offer. The administration is allowing those who shouldn't be here to use that handy little CBP-1 app to start the process, and they even get to pick a departure flight. And if they leave on their own, they can keep their money and may even be eligible to come the right way in the future. So yeah, I gotta hand it to Donald Trump. He's gonna find a way to make some of the money back illegal immigration has cost us all. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show, Tommy Lahren is Fearless, at Outkick.com.
The news and talk
Immediately, a big, beautiful tax cut bill
that matters to St. Louis.
Get this passed, and you'll see the markets behaving better. You'll see the economy behaving better.
This is 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
I've been lonely. I've been waiting for you.
Oh, yeah. Welcome back to Colombo Company on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. If you're watching on the cameras there at the break, you saw me trying to stuff a little Capriotti's.
Those sandwiches are delicious.
Oh, just trying to get a little bit, in before we went back on the show. Capriotti's is so freaking good. Make sure you check them out if you haven't.
As I mentioned to you, Tony, I grew up in the restaurant business, so I can vouch for the fact that they're great sandwiches.
Yeah, and it looks like things are on track for a second Capriotti's to be open in the St. Louis area by the end of this year. Had a great conversation with the owner of the St. Louis Capriotti's, our friend Jonathan Heslop, also from Rockwood Lump Charcoal, in that last segment. If you missed it, make sure you go back and check out the podcast. Best way to make sure you never miss anything that happens here on. All right, joining us on the line now is Dr. Randy Tobler from the Randy Tobler Show, which you can hear every Saturday morning here on News Talk STL. Doc, another day, and seems like Donald Trump continues to have the wind at his back, even now with this tariff story. The president has turned some of the detractors of his policy into supporters, and man, he is really off to an incredible start of this new administration. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think he ended up getting to a place through a circuitous route that may have done some reputational damage to him and, frankly, to the country. I don't know. I think we all sort of saw that it needed to end up here when it was announced the first day, and when we saw the carnage in the market afterwards. Yeah. I agree with Bill Ackman. I think it was Ackman tweeted, and he's been a Trump supporter, a big financial guy. He tweeted exactly on Sunday or Monday, I think it was, exactly what needed to happen. And by God, that's the blueprint that Trump, it's almost like he rubber stamped it on Wednesday. But I am concerned about future relations with other countries when there are foreign policy discussions, when there are market discussions, the 75 give or take discussions that are allegedly going to happen between the nations now. Aside from a 10% and a sector tax where that applies, a tariff like aluminum and steel. But, you just wonder if people are going to go into those negotiations. I mean, I think they probably always go in skeptical of any negotiation at that level. I get that. But you'd like to think that, I don't, maybe I'm just an old fashioned, looking at history from a World War II perspective. Man, you got to have trust and great relationships with your allies, And I just wonder if the trust thing, which has been built up over decades, well, let's make that over a century with certain partners in the world, if that hasn't been eroded a little bit. And we all know in our personal and our professional lives that trust matters. Yeah. I just think that there's a certain element of that I would like to have seen maybe a little bit, the way this was executed. Goals good, general strategy, isolate China, pull China away from the world, checked all the boxes, but there was just an awful lot of damage in between. We'll have to see where it all comes out.
Yeah, there's like you, Doc. I have been critical of a couple of things that the president has done. By and large, pretty happy with the results that he has that he's obtained since starting this second term, and I think it's inarguable that he hasn't had some massive successes and is on a huge roll. But when it comes to this issue, I've listened to both sides very carefully, and I've heard a lot of people that I respect a lot have completely different thoughts, on this issue. Trump supporters, but but some people think that Trump has been, handled this terribly and recklessly. Others have said, it's been absolutely brilliant, but it's hard to argue that at least at this moment, he doesn't seem to have had it turned around. And I wondered, because I think you make such a great point about, what can we believe? How much can we trust? What was this always the plan, to threaten these tariffs and then not actually have to go through with them, when the deadline finally came. And my question, I guess, is if he is able to get these type of results, is it worth, like, if this is the game, is it worth sacrificing a little trust if that did indeed happen, if the president can continue to get what he wants and it's positive for the country in the long run?
Well, I have to say that, when this all rolls out, and again, I think the turbulence in the markets still need to be determined. So we probably can't
You're
really
right.
say yet.
Yeah, we're not we're certainly not at the end of the tunnel. You're exactly right.
No, I mean, we gave, what we give back today? Another couple percent, right? So, I mean, the market is going to close below 2,000. I'm sorry, below 39,000, or well, maybe a little above, but below 40,000 for sure. And not that markets are everything, but I think that that what I've heard from people who know a heck of a lot more than me about finance and markets, which would be like, I know very little, so it doesn't take a lot to know more than me. But folks that know a lot about that say that what really got his attention and what really, I think, made him, it could be argued, blink. He likes to spin it that this was all planned, but he said it. The bond markets were acting crazily. Japan and China were dumping bonds when normally this is where investors go to safety. Now, maybe they were doing it to spite us and cutting off their own nose to spite their face. I don't know. But boy, oh boy, I think on the heels of the great things he's done, I mean, look at what's happened on the border. We're not even talking about the border much anymore, right? It's shut down to a trickle, historical low numbers. Beautiful. And that was because of decisive, make sense, follow the rules, very traditional American kind of governance, right? It's like, these are our rules. You're going to follow our rules. And if you don't, we're going to deport you as soon as you cross the border. Bada bang, bada boom, done, right? And I think I'm hoping that after this episode that he'll be able to say, okay, going forward, I've made it clear now. I wanted to get everyone's attention. And now we're going to have sensible discussions. And in the future, when I say I'm going to do something, believe it. Yeah. This may be, a papa basically telling the kids after he's let them get away with a few things and not followed through on consequences after threats. This may be the papa and the mama saying, nope, this time we mean it. We're going to ground you for a few days. And next time when we say we're going to do it, maybe you'll listen to us. Maybe that's the strategy and sets a totally different tone when he is negotiating or, threatening actions in the future. It could be that. It could be strategic. I don't know. The guy, is such a charmer when it comes to personal relationships with anyone who's dealt with him, that I think that, if he's able to somehow parse these meetings that he's gained into regaining those friendships that we've built up over a long time, solidifying them, bringing them away from any China influence and wooing that China is certainly doing, man, that would be, to me, something that would be really a subtext that would be super important out of all this.
You kind of teed me up for my my next topic here, talking to Dr. Randy Tobler, Randy Tobler Show every Saturday morning here on News Talk STL. Speaking of the president being a charmer, he seems to have pulled another rabbit out of his hat this week. I don't know if you were following this story at all earlier this week, Doc, but we talked about it here. about how the Republican Party, particularly the House and the Senate, were very divided on Trump's on the budget bill moving forward. The House had passed a bill that would cut $1.5 trillion. The Senate's version was cutting $400 billion, just a massive difference. And we did a story earlier this week about how as many as maybe 20 to 30 Republicans in the House were not willing to sign on to the Senate's version of the bill because they think it didn't do enough. Earlier this week, Donald Trump sat down with those 20 or so Republicans that were on the other side. And it looks like as of today, they've changed their minds. Here's the quick story. In a massive victory for President Donald Trump and House Speaker Mike Johnson, the House of Representatives passed a bill today that will set the stage for a massive conservative policy overhaul. The legislation passed mostly along party lines this morning after a long night of negotiations between House GOP leaders and fiscal hawks who were critical of its spending cut levels. In the end, just 2 Republicans voted against the legislation, Thomas Massie, and Victoria Spartz of Indiana. The bill passed 216 to 214. No Democrats supported it as expected. Johnson and Senate Majority Leader John Thune held a press conference this morning in a bid to allay conservatives' concerns. It comes after the House's initial plan to vote on the legislation on a Wednesday. This is when we talked about the other day, was quickly scuttled at the last minute in the face of more than a dozen Republican holdouts. Several of those holdouts said Thune's public commitment helped sway them in comments to reporters today after the vote. For example, Representative Chip Roy of Texas told reporters, quote, "We have now 3 strong statements from the Speaker, the President, and the Senate Majority Leader. We did not have those things 48 hours ago. We do now." We read a quote from Eric Burlison, who I know you know well, Doc, our own congressman here in the state of Missouri. He said, I think on Tuesday about this issue, that the cuts that it was too drastic. The gap was too drastic, and he didn't see enough Republicans being able, I think his words were, it's too hard to swallow. And he did not think that this bill was going to get passed this week. But as I said, Donald Trump, another rabbit out of the hat, has turned what looked like a stumbling block and division within the party and got the job done in this vote today. You mentioned how charming he is. He's got the magic touch right now, and he really is on a roll.
Well, what I think is really interesting here is that John Thune has shown to be a much, much stronger ally.
Well put. Yeah, good point.
Of the people in the House than Mitch McConnell, right? I mean, because the Senate was not ready to make those cuts. Now, the cuts, we haven't seen that final bill, right? But I think
that is correct. That is correct. And that's kind of I'm glad you brought that up, because I don't mean to cut you off, but that's an important part of the story, that this doesn't end the negotiation. So as huge as that is, I don't see them making up that much ground. The difference between $400 billion and $1.5 trillion is massive. But Republicans in the House are, definitely stating today that this wasn't just giving up on, their much larger spending cuts. This is just to keep the legislation moving forward.
And remember that, this will, I don't know, to me, it seems to have the general feel of the same kind of conciliation that group of hardliners, and I frankly am very fond of those hardliners.
Yeah, me too, usually.
I think, they sort of took one for the team when it came to the continuing resolution, right? This is the second time that they're basically bending a knee based on a promise. So this would be the second time they've done that. Now, will there be some fiscal restraint at the end of the day in a Donald Trump administration? We didn't see it in the first one, and that's okay. There were a lot of other good stuff that happened, but we didn't see fiscal restraint. I think COVID distorted a lot of that. But even before COVID, we didn't see fiscal restraint. We haven't seen it thus far. And I am really concerned on several levels. Ideologically, I'm concerned about no taxes on tips and Social Security and this and that. I mean, it doesn't smell right to me to hand out tax breaks to certain groups of people. I mean, there's something fundamentally wrong. That's a totally separate issue. But those are going to be severe revenue, losses, right? And at the same time, unless you make significant fiscal cuts, nothing is going to change in terms of the long-term existential threat to this country's economic and national security with an ever-widening deficit and debt. And so a populist president may give out a lot of great stuff and everyone's hoopla and it's all fine and dandy and, but at the end of the day, is this reminiscent of the Roaring '20s and Calvin Coolidge? And we know what happened. That didn't work out too well at the end of the game. I'm just concerned about that.
Yeah.
The populism of Trump is not conservatism, and we absolutely must not delude ourselves otherwise.
I think you're exactly right. And, that is doubly important to keep in mind when it does seem like he can't be stopped. That doesn't mean that we take our eye off the ball and make sure that, in all this success that we keep, moving forward in the proper direction. I mentioned earlier in the show, Doc, you just touched on COVID. I mentioned earlier in the show that there were several stories today out about just exposing more Democrat lies. One of those was a story that we did in the first hour about a report that just got released was made public by the Trump administration, a report that was supposed to be made public more than 2 years ago that showed that COVID was discovered by United States officials earlier than the Biden administration first reported, that there were these military members who took place in the World Military Games, or I can't remember exactly what it was called, in 2019, that came back, which happened to be in Wuhan, that event, that came back with COVID, or at least signs of COVID. We didn't know what, they didn't have it all figured out at that point. But the Biden administration said in 2021 that nobody came back with COVID from that event, and no military members or anybody else had shown any signs of COVID for months, until months later. This new report just showed that the Biden administration was absolutely lying to us. We also did a story earlier about Adam Schiff trying to pin insider trading on Trump and his family for this tariff issue, which again is rich coming from a Democrat when you have people like Nancy Pelosi that have made a whole life off of insider trading. One more of those issues, one more story about that I wanted to run by you before we ran out of time. Speaking of these Democratic lies, there's a new book about Nancy Pelosi privately acknowledging Joe Biden was slipping, but publicly bashed media reports claiming the same at the exact same time. This new book claims that Representative Nancy Pelosi privately said former President Biden had lost a step ahead of his decision to drop out of the 2024 presidential campaign before she publicly bashed a Wall Street Journal story on his cognitive decline. Author Chris Whipple's new book, titled Uncharted: How Trump Beat Biden, Harris, and the Odds in the Wildest Campaign in History, recounts a particular behind-the-scenes conflicts between Democrats and Biden. One, according to his book, Pelosi went to the White House in May of 2024 for an award ceremony and was, quote, startled by how much the president had aged. He was not the same Joe Biden, Pelosi told a friend. Pelosi was at the White House to accept the Presidential Medal of Freedom, but the day was awkward, quote, awkward, even painful for her, as she worried Democrats would suffer on Election Day. The book says, quote, she couldn't shake the realization that Joe Biden was a shadow of himself. And that same week, the Wall Street Journal put out a report talking about how President Biden was slipping, and Nancy Pelosi publicly called that a hit piece, and talked about how the president's never been sharper and how his wisdom and his experience are exactly what the country needs right now. Just black and white exposing the lies that were coming out of the Democratic Party and Nancy Pelosi's mouth during that time. Not a surprise, Doc, but I love when we get the stories that prove just how comfortable they are looking the American people right in the eyes and lying to us.
A couple things on that whole story. First of all, Nancy Pelosi receiving a Medal of Freedom, that should have been enough evidence that Joe Biden had lost his sanity, right? I mean, first of all.
Great point.
Yes, that's prima facie evidence. That's exhibit A through Z, case closed. We know how the jury's going to come back on that, right?
Yes.
Secondly, look, when you're looking at a party and a complicit media that aids and abets and encourages and supports that party, and you're looking then at it's not surprising at all that they covered this up, that they did everything they could to try to perpetuate the lie that he's just doing fine. When you look at a party that is, because they'll do anything to defeat Trump. And again, exhibit A on that indictment, on that charge, is the recent poll that 55% of self-identified leftists think it's okay to assassinate Donald Trump because he's just not good for the nation. And we lefties know that. So we will do anything to prevent Trump from either being elected. Well, they didn't win on that one. We saw the extent they went to, including the prosecution of him defending Biden. Or if that doesn't work out, we'll try to take him out during the campaign. That didn't work well. And now they think it's okay somehow for someone else to take him out going forward. I mean, this is an absolute insane party, movement, and cultural calamity for our nation. And I'm glad it's being exposed.
Yeah,
if Donald Trump and his administration do nothing else but expose the lunacy of the left and bring some people back to their senses, that would be a beautiful thing.
Dr. Randy Tobler, The Randy Tobler Show, every Saturday morning, 6 to 9 a.m. here on News Talk STL. Doc, as always, appreciate your time. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we will talk to you soon, my friend. Thank you.
All right, talk to you later.
Yeah, great stuff there from Dr. Randy Tobler. All right, before we hand things off to Tim Jones and Chris Arps show, one more conversation to have today, and that is with my co-host from the Bluff City Outdoors Show, Mark McMurray from Bluff City Outdoors. I want to talk about daylight savings time. It looks like Republicans and Democrats might be on the same page of actually eliminating daylight savings time. We'll see, and I will explain next here on Colombo Company.
I'm pretending, and that's all I can do. The love I'm sending ain't making it through to your heart.
I really like all the things you're saying.
News, analysis, opinion.
Thank you very, very much.
News Talk STL.
Attention off-road enthusiasts. Iron Bear Customs has the strongest bumpers on the planet. Plus, brush guards, lift kits, and custom cages for all vehicles. Visit ironbearcustoms.com and mention News Talk STL for 10% off. Iron Bear Customs, built tough for the toughest terrain.
Discover Patriot Powder Coating, your family-owned specialist in Pacific. From small jobs to big projects, we got you covered. Visit our showroom or call 636-551-0377. Mention News Talk STL for 10% off.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
I'm sure you recall how many times legacy media and Democrats assured us Joe Biden is just fine. He's not only totally capable of running for president again, but continuing to serve. Yet when we watch what he did, what he said, facial expressions, even if you loved him as Uncle Joe, it was clear he was not up to his game. Well, of course, in the end, even the strongest supporting voices in the party, Nancy Pelosi, pushed him aside. That's politics. But there is no journalistic explanation for how the legacy media not only propped Biden up, but created a fantasy for their audiences. CNN's Jake Tapper releasing a book titled Original Sin, Biden's Decline. He admits he saw Biden was not capable, and there was a cover-up, Tapper even helping. You know Tapper was compiling notes for that book while lying to his audience. ABC anchor George Stephanopoulos involved in covering up, quoted in a new book saying, up close, it was heartbreaking to watch him. Yet again, he never told his audience. They lied to you, but try to rationalize it. Benjamin Franklin said, half a truth is often a great lie.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
Question, do you know what vermiculite is? It is an insulation in the attics of hundreds of thousands of homes and public buildings. Looks like kitty litter, but often contains asbestos. Wellington Environmental is the largest company in the Midwest that can remove that hazard for you. Wellington has what is called the General, a powerful industrial vacuum that can suck vermiculite out of the attic. Hang on, there's something else you should know. Many of you might qualify for up to a $4,000 rebate. You should at least contact Wellington to see if you qualify. And here's something else. Wellington arrives at the time they give you, not sometime within 4 hours. 314-644-4930, 644-4930. WellingtonSTL.com, WellingtonSTL.com, Wellington Environmental, your world cleaner, better, safer. Be well with Wellington.
When it comes to spending your tax dollars and teaching your kids, governments and school districts should be an open book. But in Missouri, that's not always the case. Recently, the Show Me Institute sent out a sunshine law request to school districts across the state, asking for information on whether certain topics are being taught. Specifically, a controversial one called critical race theory was included in the list. Many districts didn't respond. Some wanted to charge large fees to process the documents. Lee's Summit outside Kansas City wanted over $35,000. A rural district, Morgan County, wanted $15,000. The Sunshine Law does allow charging a reasonable fee for sending out information, but there's nothing reasonable about $35,000 or $15,000. These districts should want to be transparent about their curriculums. Taxpayers deserve to know what their kids are being taught. Learn more at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Remember those magical moments in Mom's kitchen? The heavenly aroma of fresh baked cookies? At Trolley Stop Bakery in Chesterfield's Forum Shopping Center, our co-op of talented bakers has been perfecting that homemade magic for 4 decades. From the gooeyest cookies in town to custom pies, cobblers, and cakes, everything's made from scratch, just like Mom and Grandma's recipes. Need that perfect corporate gift? We ship our famous cookies nationwide. The Trolley Stop Bakery, 67 Forum Shopping Center, or TrolleyStopBakery.com. Because some traditions are too sweet not to share.
Hey, Jamie Allman here for O'Fallon Family Floors, O'FallonFamilyFloors.com. Brian and his team, they're just amazing people. They're so proud of their operation. Pride in every installation. You can see that in the Google reviews. Pride in the great quality, pride in the great pricing, pride in the great variety, and pride in the fact that you can go into the store right off of Highway K in O'Fallon, or the store will come to you. That's the promise of O'Fallon Family Floors, O'FallonFamilyFloors.com.
On the next
Larry Connors USA.
There is a lot of speculation as to what a trade war will do, but no one really knows at this point.
Larry Connors USA.
Now, weeknights 6 until 8
on News Talk STL.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Wherever I'm at, home, car, wherever.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Just the convenience on the phone. Streaming live on the mobile app.
Love the new app.
And listen anytime.
Everywhere.
Anywhere.
Love the new app. If you haven't checked it out yet, make sure you do. If you have downloaded the News Talk STL app and you don't have all of the cool new features like access to our podcasts, direct links to our social media platforms, CarPlay or Android Audio working, then you need to either update or maybe re-download the new app. If you've never gotten the News Talk STL app, now is the perfect time to do so, because the new app is out there. It's absolutely free, and it's the best way to listen to the station no matter where you are in the world. And again, all of those great new features also on the new and improved News Talk STL app. So make sure you are checking it out.
And if you haven't downloaded it, you're missing out on the Wheel of Fun.
You are. There is.
Which
the
is
whole
right
thing
there
is
on
a
the
Wheel
screen.
of Fun. Yeah. The whole app is just a Wheel of Fun. You'll see what we're talking about if you haven't gotten it yet. It's all right there at your fingertips. All right, joining us now in studio is my co-host and partner from the Bluff City Outdoors show, Mark McMurray from Bluff City Outdoors in Alton, Illinois. Great to see you, buddy.
Hey, it's good to be back, Tony.
So today's been a little bit weird in the weather. It was beautiful. I drove in with my windows down, and then when I started the show, I was in my office, the window, it looked great. And then about a half hour ago, I learned that it was raining cats and dogs. So maybe we're not quite out, because I was going to say to you to start this conversation today that it looks like we're finally maybe out of the woods when it comes to just the round after round of severe weather, and we can finally start our spring activities.
Yeah, I mean, the forecast looks much, much better. I
Yeah.
mean, I hit rain coming in, so yeah. But it's definitely out
But
there.
it does,
but it's not a big shot of rain.
It doesn't, and it does look like the future, like what we've been through. It's just like, it's been just one after another. We've talked a lot about it on the show. We've been stuck at the starting line of spring for weeks, it feels like. But now I think we're ready to go.
Yeah,
we're going to get some consistent weather where people can get outside, enjoy the great outdoors, go fishing, do all those kind of things.
Yeah, it's we need it.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the chatter out at the shop? Are people excited that for the opportunity to finally get some consistency and an opportunity?
Oh,
to get out
absolutely. I mean, people are so itching to get out and get good consistent weather. The fishing has been good.
Mhm.
It's just you can't tolerate,
the
wind, the rain,
yeah, right,
the cold, and
yeah.
So it's just we need that consistent weather.
Yeah,
people
which
are,
looks
people
like
to be ready to get out.
Yeah, we're finally going to get that. I wanted to talk about another issue that we've talked about on this show and on the Buff City Outdoors show many times: daylight savings. You guys know how deeply this story impacts me, and we've heard this before, but this one feels like maybe there's a little bit more going on than in the past. We've heard about even the United States Senate talking about daylight savings time and whether or not it needs to go away. We've heard about local legislators talking about that. It's back in the news today, but it seems like maybe it's even a little more serious than in the past. So maybe there is some optimism to be had here. Ted Cruz said daylight savings was grounded in good faith efforts to reduce energy consumption, but that instead it has led to increased auto accidents in the dark, workplace issues, and objections from the agriculture sector that relies on early morning sunlight. Quote, "We find ourselves adjusting our clocks, springing forward and falling back in the fall. For many Americans, this biannual ritual is a minor inconvenience, but when we take a closer look at the implications of changing the clocks, its impact on our economy, our health, and our everyday lives, we can see that this practice is more than an annoyance." This is all from Ted Cruz there in the Capitol. Quote, "The idea was simple. Fewer hours of darkness meant less electricity consumption for lighting and heating. However, unlike in the early 1900s when the U.S. economy was heavily reliant on energy consumption tied to daylight hours, today's effects from sunrise and sunset timings are minimal," he said. He went on to, I could read the whole statement, these various quotes about different reasons why it's time to get rid of daylight savings, but he laid out the whole case. You can go look it up. And Democrats on this committee in the Senate agreed. So it seems to be a bipartisan issue that the daylight savings needs to go. And importantly, also, it's on the side of making daylight savings the permanent clock instead of standard time. So what we're in right now, where it stays lighter longer rather than earlier, is what would be the permanent time going forward, which for me as a night person and somebody who gets depressed when it's 4:45 in the afternoon and it's pitch black, or I'm driving home from work at 5 o'clock and it's pitch black, for me, I am 100% behind this. What do you think?
Yeah, if given choice, I'd rather have the more light in the afternoons would be better.
Yeah. Yeah.
I get up pretty early, but still, I just think that would be a better use of it.
Do you think, is it important enough to you to even have, because some people are like, yeah, I might like one better a little bit, than the other one, but I'm also fine with the way things are. Like, is it a big deal to you to change it? Or like for me, I'm at the top of the mountain on this one.
I'm one of those, like I said, I sort of get tired when the sun goes down, and
Yeah.
when the sun starts coming up, it's time to get up. Doesn't matter what time that sun's coming up. It's just time to get up.
So, Mark, you've got customers who spend a lot of time outdoors. Do you get feedback from them?
I
as to
haven't
what they
really
feel?
heard too much. I think it'd
Okay.
be the same thing there. To, you know,
Yeah.
whether they fish that extra hour in the morning or in the evening, I don't think it's going to matter to them.
There's a handful of days every year that usually when I'm at the lake that I will set my clock to first light, not sunrise, first light, because I know that I can go down to the lake if we're there for the weekend. I can get up at 5:30, 5:45 in the morning, walk down, fish for a half hour, 45 minutes in that prime time. I usually catch. It's usually when I catch some of the biggest fish I catch all year, and even go back up and maybe get a couple hours of sleep before the family wakes up. And I had that. If I can get an extra hour of sleep before that first light on those type of days, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
So, across the board, I am okay with this issue. I want to remind you before we run out of time about Bluff City Outdoors, about a mile east from Fast Eddie's there in Alton on East Broadway, open 7 days a week. Not only all of your fishing needs covered there, including all of your lures, all of the gear that you need to go fishing, also all your bow hunting needs and your trapping needs, and the archery range is open 7 days a week there at Bluff City Outdoors. And I can't imagine, this is probably this season, probably the most exciting time of the year for you guys at Bluff City Outdoors.
Yeah. So, when the season really kicks in from about the latter part of April, May through mid-June, that's peak busyness. I mean, that's probably when we're the busiest.
Yeah. So get out there, fill any holes you got in your tackle box. You can even book a trip with a local fishing guide while you're there at Bluff City Outdoors. And if you have a few extra minutes, go shoot in the archery range because it is an absolute blast. Check out Bluff City Outdoors there in Alton and learn more at bluffcityoutdoors.com and follow Bluff City Outdoors on Facebook. And tune in for the Bluff City Outdoors show every Saturday at 11 a.m. here on News Talk STL. Mark, thanks for coming in.
No problem.
Look
Good to
forward
see
to
you
the
guys.
show this weekend, and we are going to hand things off to the Tim Jones and Chris Arp show right after the O'Reilly Report next here on News Talk STL.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Hey folks, Jamie Allman here. Exciting things are happening at the Hideout in High Ridge. Famous for the Sunset Patio, 4 big screen TVs, live music and events, and of course, the wings. The Hideout now has a brand new menu featuring handcrafted burgers and new items like their signature sunset dip and Dave's Chili. And now a second location, the Hideout at Sugar Creek Golf Course in High Ridge, featuring great event space. You can stop by for lunch or dinner. The new 2025 Hideout and the new Hideout at Sugar Creek Golf Course. We'll see you there.
Spring has sprung at Daniel's Farming Greenhouses on Juggerman and St. Peters. Discover our breathtaking 55,000 square feet of greenhouses featuring 8,000 hanging baskets, hundreds of perennials, and 100,000 pots of colorful annuals. From vegetable plants to premium grass seed, mulch to herbs, our knowledgeable staff is ready to answer all your questions. Start spring off right with pansies, potted tulips, and everything your garden craves. Daniel's Farming Greenhouses. Visit us today on Juggerman or online at danielsfarminggreenhouses.com.
Hey, it's Vic. Are you worried about rising taxes? Well, you're not alone. With government spending outpacing revenue, many Americans fear a tax hike is on the horizon. But here's the good news. You have options. Chris Cooper of Serenity Wealth Management specializes in tax-efficient strategies for income planning, legacy, and growth. Chris knows your money will go to one of 3 places: the government, healthcare, or your family and charities. Shouldn't your loved ones come first? Don't let Uncle Sam be your biggest beneficiary. Take control of your financial future today. Visit serenitynowtax.com for your free copy of Chris's book, The New Holistic Retirement. Serenity Wealth Management, because you deserve